It started as a stupid joke. One of those pranks that sounds funny when everyone's had a few drinks and no one thinks about the consequences. We were at the lake house that weekend, me, my husband Ryan, and our friends celebrating my birthday. Ryan had been the target of teasing all night, cracking dad jokes and acting like the overprotective husband while everyone laughed. Then my best friend Claire said, "Hey, what if we leave him at the rest stop when we get gas tomorrow? Just for laughs." Everyone chuckled, and in the heat of the moment, I agreed. I wish I hadn't. The next morning, we stopped for fuel halfway back to the city. Ryan went inside to grab snacks, and Claire winked at me. Now or never. I hesitated, but everyone was in on it. They laughed, saying he'd get an Uber, that it was just a harmless joke. So, I started the car and we drove off, leaving my husband behind on the side of the highway, holding 2 bags of chips and a confused look on his face. I expected him to call right away, but an hour passed. Then, my phone buzzed, but it wasn't him. It was my mom asking if we'd made it home safely. My chest tightened. Something didn't feel right. When we finally got home, I tried calling Ryan. No answer. I texted him, "Okay, joke's over. You can yell at me now." Still nothing. His phone went straight to voicemail. Panic crept up my throat. Claire told me to relax, that maybe he was ignoring me on purpose to make me sweat. But deep down, I knew Ryan wasn't the kind of man to play games. I called the gas station, the local police, even a tow company. No one had seen him. The laughter that filled the car earlier now felt cruel, echoing in my head like a taunt. By nightfall, I was pacing the living room, checking my phone every minute. I drove back to the rest stop with Claire, scanning every shadow by the roadside, calling his name into the dark. Nothing. His car keys, wallet, and everything else were still at home. My hands shook on the steering wheel as guilt clawed through my chest. The cold air bit my skin as I whispered into the emptiness. "Please just come home," but the highway stayed silent. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. I couldn't stop seeing his face as we drove away. That mix of surprise and hurt I hadn't noticed until it was too late. 3 days passed with no word. The police opened a missing person case. Reporters showed up asking questions I couldn't answer. My friends avoided me. The same people who laughed with me couldn't even look at me now. My mother cried on the phone saying she couldn't believe I'd gone along with something so careless. I had no excuse. Every minute felt like punishment. I barely ate, barely moved, just sat by the window waiting for headlights that never came. Then on the 5th night, there was a knock at the door. My heart nearly stopped. I opened it and there he was. Ryan stood there covered in dirt, his face pale, his eyes hard. He looked different, not like the man I married. His jacket was torn and his hands were shaking, yet his voice stayed calm. Too calm. "Hi, honey," he said quietly. "Miss me?" My knees nearly gave out. I tried to hug him, but he stepped back, his expression unreadable. "You left me," he said almost in a whisper. "Miles away alone." Tears poured down my face as I tried to explain, to apologize, to tell him it was supposed to be a joke, but he just stared at me. "A joke," he said. "You thought it was funny to abandon your husband in the middle of nowhere?" His tone was low and controlled, the kind of calm that frightens you more than shouting ever could. He walked past me into the house as if taking in every detail of a place he once knew. Then he looked at Claire, who had come over as soon as she heard he was back. "You thought it was funny, too, didn't you?" he said coldly. She stammered something about not meaning any harm, but Ryan only smiled, a tight, unsettling smile. He didn't yell. He didn't touch anyone. He simply began moving through the house, gathering his things, the guitar he loved, his books, his jacket. When I asked where he was going, he said softly, "Somewhere people don't treat my pain like entertainment." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and there was so much sadness in his eyes, it broke something inside me. "You didn't just leave me on that road," he said, "you left me long before that." Then he walked out the door, closing it gently behind him. I thought that was the end, but it wasn't. A few weeks later, I started hearing things. People at work whispered that Ryan had told them everything. That video footage from the gas station had gone viral, the one where I laughed as we drove away. My reputation collapsed. Friends stopped calling. My company put me on leave. Even Claire moved away. The world saw what I'd done. And suddenly, no one was laughing anymore. One night, I found a note slipped under my door. It was in Ryan's handwriting, just one line. I forgive you, but I won't forget. That's when I realized forgiveness doesn't always mean a second chance. Sometimes it's simply a way of saying, goodbye, forever.